cat.
It's my water bottle.
Oh my god.
That makes such a cute little
It
sound.
was.
I wasn't expecting that. It doesn't usually make that noise.
It's like a little tiny animal giving you a zerber. Just like,
It's a server?
It's a raspberry, Jillian.
Oh my god. I've never heard that before.
You haven't?
No. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll put that at the beginning and have a little blooper.
Sorry, I was
Oh my
just
God, that
feeling
was so funny.
crazy. I put 3 shots in this drink.
Don't touch that dial. You've only just arrived. Stay a while. You have no choice.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to Tales with Twins.
Hey, her.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. We are always excited to entertain you and be inside your head just a little bit.
And we're shocked that you're entertained by us and that you've made it this long.
Yes, yes, we are a little bit, and we hope that everybody still enjoys us.
Although I should point out, Mom did start to the door just slammed on its own. It's from the air. My house is...
from the air. Your house isn't haunted.
It's not haunted. Whenever the air turns on, if a door is open, it slams it.
Oh, great.
Sorry. But what I was going to say was, Mom finally... Oh my god. Dogs. Are you okay? Jeez. Okay, sorry. Now, again, Mom asked me today, how do I listen, or Dad specifically, I should say, how do I watch your podcast?
No, Dad.
It's like, no, Dad, it's audio. You just listen to it. He's like, we can't watch it
Kinda
on
like the radio.
Yeah, he's like, we can't watch it on YouTube. I was like, well, not right now, maybe someday, but no, not right now. So then I had to download like Google Podcasts for him and like type in our name, which we are indexed now, so you can officially type our name in onto Google Podcasts. And we come up. So then I had to show him, well, this is our page, hit subscribe. And then he's like, how do I listen to it now? And I'm like, well, these are all the episodes. So like clicking them.
Just click on one.
And it was funny because and they're going to laugh when they hear this. I'm telling you guys all this. But they both are listening to the first episode together on their own phones.
Oh, it's like a date. Like a separate date.
And I was like literally sitting there in the middle like, this is a lot of stimulation. Because it was like they were on different times. Because like I got Mom's going sooner than Dad's. So like they're both listening on their phones together. We're all sitting there together and there's like their phones are going with like, like wow, this is a lot.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, you should, because Mom has that like amplifier, that little like speaker thing that she has. She could put it on there, and then they could both listen to it together,
right?
Just from her
yeah,
phone.
I think it was just one of those. It was one of those things like I was trying to get them set up. Like this is how you play the episode. So then they were doing it, and then they were just listening to it. But all that to say, she was only like 5 minutes in, and she was like, "You guys are hilarious." And I was like,
Mom, thanks for hilarious.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. As the last born children of 6 kids, having your mom tell you that you're hilarious is quite the compliment, I must say.
I mean, she is our mom, so she like has to say that. But she was like, this is funny. And the funny thing I should say is like months ago, when we were still recording these and editing them, like the first episode was when did we start doing that? Like October?
Yeah,
probably.
something like that. Yeah.
So once that episode got edited, I went to Mom's house and was like, you gotta listen to this. This is our first episode ever. It's not on yet, but this is just our edited version of the first episode. And we're, like, listening to it, and she, like, had this stoic face the entire time and was just, like, rolling her eyes and doing this, like, disgusted, like, Paige, like, every time I'd say a bad word or something stupid like that. So I was like, Mom, you realize that you're saying we're hilarious at the same episode that you, like, scoffed at, like, months ago. And she was like, well, I remember, but it's really funny. And I'm like, now it's funny? Like, why wasn't it funny months ago?
Well, I'm glad she thinks it's funny. And I'm glad her parents are listening, because I honestly thought that neither one of them would be interested,
Yes.
which is fine. I mean, like, it's not everybody's cup of tea, you know? So I was fine with that. So I'm just kind of surprised that they're both listening. And I've downloaded Spotify for Mom before.
Yeah, I tried to. She said she had Spotify, but she was like, I don't know where it is. So I looked through her phone and it wasn't on there. So,
She must have deleted
she must have
it at some point
accidentally
then.
deleted it. Dad had it
Yeah.
on his phone, and we opened it, and it was like, please sign up. It's like,
Okay.
okay. Never mind. We'll just go the Google Podcast route, which was actually really easy to, like, do.
Set up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
But
good.
also, on that note, Dad was really funny today.
Well, first, we should tell our listeners, if you wonder where we get our charm from, it's our dad.
Our adorable, like, wit and...
Our dad is witty as fuck. It's like, it's pretty impressive. He has moments where I'm like, oh my God, Dad, like, did that really come out of your mouth? Like every child does with their parents. But then there are moments where I was like, I need to start writing this shit down. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say, like, where we get our charm from. I joke, like, we're charming as fuck, but I don't actually think I'm that charming, so
no,
it's really
I
funny
don't
to hear you say that. But all that to say, our charming father pointedly asked me today, hey, do your listeners know that I'm a twin too?
They don't. I don't think they do.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
I was
we
like,
dropped
Dad,
the
it hasn't.
ball.
I was like, it hasn't come up organically. And he was like, well, your whole thing is about being twins. Why wouldn't you say that I'm an identical twin too? And I was like,
oh my God.
oh God, we did kind of drop the ball. So yes,
Yes.
not only are Jillian and I identical twins, but our dad is an identical twin as well.
Yes. And twins they run in our family, on actually our mom's side of the family. So our mom's, I think it was great aunt, is that correct? Our mom's great aunt actually had two sets of twins,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they were both identical, or
I
was
don't
one identical and
know.
one fraternal?
I'm not sure. I feel like I should know,
I'm not sure.
like, what that looked like. I mean, back in the day, they didn't really know even if you were having twins half the time.
Yeah, until it
Yeah.
was,
Let alone
time.
if they were identical or not. You know, I
Yes,
mean, you
yeah,
can
'cause
generally
this was a
tell,
while
like,
ago.
2 placentas, 1 placenta, but there are cases where identical twins each have their own amniotic sac. Sorry, not placenta. Amniotic sac.
Okay. Well, yeah. So our mom's great aunt had two sets of twins. We don't really know if they were fraternal or identical, but so and then what happened to them is one twin from each set ended up passing away.
Yeah, like at birth, which is real sad.
Yes. Well, and that just kind of speaks to the time that this was happening in, because it was delivering twins, I'm sure, was really risky. And it's amazing that the mom survived, honestly.
Yeah.
And then it ended up skipping a generation, and now our mom had twins, me and Paige.
So,
and then it just so happens that she married an identical twin who's our dad.
Yeah, so we don't think that genetically the fact that our dad is an identical twin and we are, like, we believe it's mostly just coincidence. But while we're on that
really
note,
fun
before
coincidence.
I forget, our uncle, by marriage, he is not related by blood, but he is also a twin.
Yes, the one that buys Paige wine.
Yes.
Our charming uncle that
Our
buys Paige
charming
wine.
uncle who buys Trader Joe's wine by the case for me
Yes.
is also an identical. I don't know if he's identical, actually.
No, I think he's fraternal.
Okay, yes. And he did tell me that his mother did not know that she was having twins.
Yeah, so it's just like a big old surprise.
Yeah.
Our mom did know that she was having twins, in case anybody's curious about that. She did know.
They had just started doing ultrasounds around that time.
Yes, and she was just massive.
Her stomach was, but we literally, like...
sucked the life out of her?
She was skin and bone by the time we were born, and we were fat as fuck for twins.
Yeah, we were big twins, for sure.
Anyway.
It's interesting. Oh, I can't believe we dropped the ball.
I know, I felt bad. You could see it in his face. He was, like, so let down. Like, you have a podcast that's literally about being twins, and you haven't even fucking mentioned that I, your father, am a twin as well? God, you bitch.
Oh my god.
He didn't say that to me. My father did not call me a bitch. But I felt real bad, so shout out to Dad if he makes it this far into the podcast.
Yes, we should note this one. And if he hasn't made it this far, we should let him know that he should jump in and listen to this one.
Yeah.
He would be happy to know that we finally told our few listeners that we have an identical twin as a father as well.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny. Well, I'm glad our parents are listening at least to our first couple episodes, which is pretty fun.
Well, they seemed very excited about it. I think once they heard, like, the music and they saw the logo on the things, it was like, wow, there it is! That's cool!
It's happening! Yeah! Yes! And now that we're, like, I mean, I don't want to say now that we're gaining listeners, because that's an assumption. But let's see, so what episode is this? Is this episode, like, 13 or something?
I actually don't know. We should probably be keeping track, but we do not.
Yeah, I have a list somewhere. It's fine. I don't know what episode number this is, but it's way ahead of the game. So we, as of right now, it is mid-February, and so we are recording this like super in advance, and we just launched our first 3 episodes like a week ago. So everyone that's hearing this right now has like really stuck with us, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
But we're all very excited about it because we've gotten to the point where we can kind of see the analytics of people who are listening. And we have, a handful of listeners, I would say. We've deduced
that most of the listeners that we have are family members, which
or friends.
We see you in Chicago and Nebraska and Washington, Louisiana.
Hello.
Like, hello.
Wisconsin.
We did see Arizona, which we think we know who you are too, but we don't want to assume.
Yes.
But we had some wild ones too. You want to share?
Yes, I'm very excited. So this could be a fluke. I'm going to go with it's not a fluke and it's 100% real. But I think we have a listener in India.
Yeah, which is super fucking cool.
Yes, so, we are very excited about it.
Yeah, what's the name of the city?
So this, I don't know, I think it's more of like...
An area?
An area. I don't really want to call it a state because that's an American thing, and I don't want to insult India by saying that they have states.
Point.
But
Odisha.
Oh,
Odisha?
Yes, Odisha. Odisha? We don't know. I'm not sure.
I hope we haven't offended you.
Yes. Either way, we appreciate you, person in India who's listening to us.
Our very first international listener, and that is you, my friend. And it's so cool.
We're very excited about it. So, we wanted to shout you out, our first international
We hope you make it this far. If you do, please email us. That'd be so cool.
Yes.
Tell us, your first international listener in India. Here I am.
Yes, and a little biography about you if you really want to.
Oh, how cool!
Or any stories that you have about your haunted house or whatever.
I'm sure there's lots of haunted places in India.
That wouldn't really surprise me, but maybe that's a misconception. If it is, India listener, let us know. It's very exciting. We're both very excited. We hope that the momentum continues. We will, I guess, see. But yeah, anyway. Let's see. Let's go with. Should we start talking about our social before we like really dive into this?
Do you want to do that at, sure?
No, let's do it at the beginning
Okay.
because they need to hear our social to get to our social our social media. It sounds like I'm talking about a social security
Oh
number.
my god, you cannot have that.
No. They need to hear our social media stuff before they get the story. Oh, and you know what? Before I forget. So once again, I have physicked up my back.
Like real bad.
Real bad. And I think so a couple weeks ago I talked about how I messed up my back. And I think that was like the precursor to what has happened in the last week for me.
You should see. She's literally laying on these little mattresses on the floor with the microphone hanging over her face.
Yes. It's pretty let's call it eye-opening. So I'm trying to not sit because I have discovered that I don't sit very well to support my back. And since my back is so mad, it means that I have to like lay down until it's less mad and then I can kind of rebuild the muscle in there. But I'm seeing a chiropractor, so he's putting me back together. Don't worry, I'll get there. But until then, I basically have to record laying down. So if I sound different, it's because I'm on the floor. It's pretty fun. It is entertaining for sure. Asking my husband to set this, I don't know, mic stand up on our coffee table so that I can like dangle over my face is pretty interesting. We've got photos, don't you worry.
Yeah.
I am currently undecided on if I'm going to post them though. I don't know if I'm that brave. But that's all right. My house is just a mess right now because I can't clean anything. Anyway, social media. All right, so email us at taleswithtwinspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your stories, ghost stories, haunted house stories, anything like that.
True
Any true crime, yeah, that you're super interested in. If there's a really good story that was, from your home state or whatever, hometown, that sort of thing. Let us know if you think it's something that if you want us to cover it, let us know that too. And then let's see here. Instagram and Twitter are at Tales with Twins. That's our handle for both of those. And then we also have a Facebook group, Tales with Twins podcast.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
So you can join that as well. We would love to have you. And then let's see. I think that's
Patreon?
it, right? Oh yeah, Patreon. We also have a Patreon, Tales with Twins, and we have a PayPal as well. If you'd like to throw a little money our way, we would be very, very grateful.
And you get stuff in return.
Yes, we do. We do monthly bonus episodes. So that's coming every
Presented
month
by
as well. Kyle. Yes, you have to pay.
Yours truly.
Yes.
I think that's the first time we've heard you this episode. Sorry, Kyle.
Oh, yes. There's Kyle. He's in the background.
He looms and makes sure we don't fuck anything up.
Yes. Helps us with our microphones and all kinds of stuff. And he's along for this crazy ride for this story as well, which is always kind of fun. I think so. So every week we give each other a topic. So last week, Paige gave me the topic of a prison. So that's what I'm going to tell you a story about this week. And then next week, Paige will tell you a story about something else. So stay tuned till the end of the episode, and we will give you the prompt for next week so you can kind of get like a little taste of what's to come for our next episode. All right, let's see here. Let me pull up my notes because I am flat on my back. So give me a hot second while I figure this out. I really should have printed them. That's what should have happened. I need to get my printer working. All right, so there's not really like a good bait for this because it's more of a location instead of an incident. So I'm just gonna dive right in. I did some preliminary searches of haunted prisons, and I will say I got stuck for a long time on this one prison in Australia.
Ooh.
And for some reason, I was just like tunnel vision on that freaking prison. And I was like trying to like pound the square peg into a round hole with that stupid place. And it is still something that I think we might cover, but there just wasn't enough information for an entire episode. So I'm not going to say what it was because we might want to do it in the future as like a compilation maybe.
Mhm.
But it had some interesting history. But then I decided to kind of take it back, like rein it in a little bit, and see what was around that I know has a lot of information. So there are basically like 5 prisons that if you are into ghost hunting, you know what these 5 prisons are. All right, let's see. So those 5 prisons are they're all over the place. I mean, let's be honest, they're mostly in America. And
Because we have the most spectacular prison system in the world.
Agreed. Not really, but you know what I mean. No, but seriously, like America's prison system is pretty fucked up, and you'll kind of hear a little bit of it in what I'm about to tell you. But yeah. Anyway, so this was basically from that list. I'm not going to go through that list because we might want to, do those in the future. But I decided to go with the Missouri State Penitentiary.
Cool. I know everything about that.
Well, if I were to tell you that I did the Eastern, I think it's Eastern State Pet, I don't know, it's Eastern something, and that one's like in Pennsylvania, and that one's like the big one, that like the creme de la creme of haunted prisons.
I haven't
and
heard
I could
of
have done that
one either.
one. You have.
Oh, I have?
You have. Yes, because you've seen shows on
Is
it.
that the
I'm
one
pretty
that
sure
had the spinning, like the cylindrical, like cells?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I don't
there's
remember.
this one that's like, it was like a giant tube. And like there were like 5 levels and there were like 3 cells on each level and it would like spin, I think.
Oh my god.
And like, so that like basically, I don't know, it made it so that you couldn't really break out or something like that. I don't quite remember, but it was a wild ride. People like got stuck in the spinning mechanism, like
holy
crazy shit like that. Yeah, it was not good.
Wow. Okay. Well, no, it's not that one. But that one's kind of like the creme de la creme of all, prisons, haunted prisons. And it's so overdone. Like all of the haunted shows have done it. And it was just one of those ones where I was like, everybody's done it. Let's pick one a little bit farther down the list. So this one's Missouri State Penitentiary. It was featured on an episode of Ghost Adventures.
Of course.
I believe it was, I think it was on Ghost Hunters as well. But I did watch the Ghost Adventures one because why not?
Oh, God.
It was season 8. I think it was season 8. It might have been an episode, or I'm sorry, it might have been season 9. I saw conflicting information on that one. But episode 4. It's either season 8 or 9, episode 4. And so they kind of feature this prison. And it actually is a really kind of beautiful prison. Kyle has a photo up, yes, of it, and I'm gonna say very old fashioned. It's stone, and I'm gonna tell you how it was built and all that stuff. But it's actually kind of the whole history behind it was kind of interesting. Part of the reason why I picked this prison was because the history was crazy. All right, so I used one source,
Ghost
and
Adventures.
It was from. No.
Thank God.
No, definitely not.
Ooh, the inside is not pretty. Yowza.
No, it's not. Well, and there's multiple buildings, too. Like, it's kind of like a sprawling estate, and we'll kind of go over that, too. So the one article that I used the most was Legends of America, and the article was called Haunted Missouri State Penitentiary in Jefferson City.
Okay.
And I will honestly, I think this is the second time I've used a Legends of America article, and I will probably always go back because I remember the last article that I used from them was also very well done. So I'm glad I found it. Oh, there goes someone's very loud car. Sorry about that. Yes. All right. So again, this is Missouri State Penitentiary. The address is 115 Lafayette Street.
I just love that you always do the address. It's like It's like, why? But at the same time, it's like, you're being very thorough.
Not? No, it's not necessarily to be thorough. It's one of those things where it's just like, why, but why not? You know, like I could give somebody the address of this place and they could actually like Google Map it if they want. But it's just kind of
I
like
never
one of
thought
those.
of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just I've always just kind of thought it was one of those funny things that you just kind of throw in just because you can.
I've
So I
never
did.
done that.
I had the phone number. Believe it or not, I did have the phone number.
Oh my god. Everybody
And
give them a
just-
call. No, please don't do that. Please do not.
I decided to get rid of it because, you know, that was like a little too far, I guess. If people want to, they do tours. This is like one of the few prisons that actually does tours.
Oh.
So if you want to go and see a tour, you can, you know, find a tour guide to do it. And yeah, they'll have a phone number on their website. All right. So I'm going to give you, I mean, it's not really like a little spiel, but this is kind of like my intro paragraph. So I'm just going to read it to you, okay? Okay. Right. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the terrible tale of the Missouri State Penitentiary, or as Time Magazine puts it, the bloodiest 47 acres in America.
What?
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
That's a thing.
All right. The penitentiary is located in Jefferson City and was the oldest continuously operating correctional institution west of the Mississippi River when it closed.
Okay.
So, it should come as no surprise to you
That it's fucking haunted.
that it's crazy fucking haunted. Yes.
Haunting shit list.
Yes. This is absolutely, it definitely has some like markers that should belong on the haunting shit list. Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy.
One of them
Okay.
is just that it's old.
Yes, that too. And I'll tell you exactly how old. It was older than I expected, and it there was one thing that I read that really put it into perspective where I was like, holy shit, this place is fucking old. But anyway, so, and just a heads up, I haven't read normally before an episode, before we record, I will read through my notes, and I will actually read them out loud to my husband to like kind of get my you know, my thought process going and figure out how I want to word things. And I didn't have time to do that today because he was working and I'm busy laying on my back all the time.
Being an invalid.
Yes. So I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, but we'll see. It should be fun.
I don't practice if it makes you feel better.
And I keep trying to tell myself that because, like, every week I do this and it takes time to do it. And I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, Paige doesn't do it and it's always fine. But for some reason, I get, like, stage fright if I don't
I did
do
it on the first episode, like, the first episode that I presented. And I'm glad I did because after doing that, I, like, went back and, like, did a whole bunch of new things on my notes and, like, completely...
Yeah.
I added things, I took things out, like... I did a bunch of stuff, but now that I know, like, now I know what that needs to look like, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I think. I hope.
Yeah.
Watch, we're gonna get a bunch of feedback someday, like, Jillian's way better at presenting and Paige's a shit show.
No. I don't think so. You get two different presentation styles with us, which I think is part
Jillian's
of the fun.
includes addresses. And mine includes things like, I don't remember the dude's name, but it's fun.
That's all right. There's something here for everybody.
Sure.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, so Jefferson City, I'm going to give you a little bit of a history and like how it was and why it was built and how it was built and all that stuff. Because it's like, the history is insane. All right, so Jefferson City became the capital of Missouri in 1822, but over about the next like 10-ish years, there were other towns that were trying to take the capital status for themselves.
Oh,
so it was basically
my
like a capital war.
I never
know. It's
thought
just
of
kind
that.
crazy. Yes, yeah. Well, and it was kind of, and I mean, it makes sense, but it basically means that these towns have to do things bigger and better than other towns in order to be named the capital.
Oh my god. I never once thought? Like, how did they decide that this town was going to be the capital? And, like, what went into that decision?
Yeah,
Wow,
well, I think a
okay.
lot of times it was proximity and like old towns, I'm sure it had a lot to do with like if there was a port
Mm.
there, if it was by water or a river or
Or even just,
something
like,
like
first
that.
towns, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but this is Missouri, so it wasn't like one of the first colonies or anything like
Right, a
that. But
founding
yeah, so
area.
yes. So basically, how Jefferson City became the capital was because Governor John Miller was like, hey, I want our town to be the capital. I'm going to build a maximum security prison to do it.
What?
Like to get us there. Yes. Which is just like, I think it's so funny that it's, first of all, that's a very American thing, in my opinion, where
Yeah.
it's just like, we need to be the best and be named the capital, so I'm going to build a prison.
That is so true. Like, I feel like
It didn't make any
a
sense.
normal person would be thinking, like, maybe we have
Let's
the
build a
best
park.
water supply. Maybe we have the highest population. But this dude's like, no, a prison is key.
Yes. Yes.
The more people
it's
we
like-
can lock up, the better.
I mean, kind of. And it was built to be this kind of intense looking building. Like if you look at pictures of it, it's actually quite beautiful in my opinion. If you think of a prison, I think this looks more like a university from the outside than a prison.
Mhm.
But it depends on which building you look at because there are multiple buildings. But there are parts of it that look more like an Ivy League school than a prison.
Yeah.
But either way, it was a prison and they saw some shit. So
Oh my god.
yes, it's crazy. So that actually secured their capitalhood.
So it worked.
It worked, yes. This prison was the reason they are the capital.
All right. So the one thing everybody needs to take away from this is if you want to secede from the United States, or let me rephrase that. If you want to make your own state, all you need to do is have a prison, and then you'll just be the, like, that didn't make any sense.
I mean, no, it makes it, no, I mean, it kind of does. I mean, you're saying, like, let's forget about schools, let's forget about
Right,
parks,
as long as you have a prison,
yes.
you'll be good to go. That's what I mean.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I understood what you were laying down. It's okay.
My drink has 3 shots in it, okay?
Yes. Oh, do you want to tell the people what you're drinking?
It's a
by the way?
no-racer. I think I drank it before while we were recording. It's just the whiskey, maple syrup, ginger beer. I did put cinnamon in it this time. Which again just jazzes it up a lot.
I can see that.
Anyway. Yes, I'm funny one. God, I'm just watching way too much Brooklyn Nine-Nine because in my head I'm like, I'm 3-drink Amy, y'all. Chatty as fuck.
That's right. We are chatty as fuck anyway. It doesn't matter if we're drunk, let's be honest. Okay. So construction officially began in 1834.
Okay.
So this is like, this prison's old.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
let's just go with that. It's fucking old.
It's over 100 years. Almost 200.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, I feel like, old for America. But, if we ever get any listeners in, like, the UK or Europe, they'll be like, oh my God.
That was yesterday. Duh.
Yes.
Boring.
Yeah, come back when you have, like, 3,000-year-old buildings, and then we'll talk.
Buildings that date to year 0.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So then it opened in 1836, so it took about 2 years to build. And this actually, like, was what put it into perspective for me. So it opened the same month that the Alamo fell in Texas.
Okay.
Does that kind of put it into perspective for you? Because it was like, wow, that was when I was like, damn.
Yeah. I guess it's just funny because I'm like, that in hindsight isn't that long. Like, really?
No, I mean, but to me, it's just like, I think about the Alamo and it's like, oh my God, that just seems so
That's like one of
far
America's
gone.
like most ancient buildings. Sort of.
I mean, kind of, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there are buildings that are older,
Right.
but
We
yeah,
know
kind of.
Virginia and things like that. But
Yes.
yes. I mean, it's...
This far west, sure,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it was built way before it was pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Let's see. Okay, so let's see. The first... Oh, okay. So at first, it housed 15 prisoners, and they actually worked in a shop making bricks to build the prison.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they were kind of building their own, I guess,
I think that was common.
doom. Yes, yeah. Well, and it morphs. It kind of keeps growing, but and I'll get to that. But yeah, it was kind of that was where it started. Was they were making bricks, and when the prison was finished, it was nicknamed the Walls because it's surrounded by limestone walls that are crazy tall. I don't know exactly how tall, but I'm assuming they're probably like 10 feet tall. And they have 15 officer towers
Oh.
kind of around the whole complex. Yeah, it's like
Wow. Each...
it's intense. It's very I want to say impending doom vibe.
yes. And each inmate
impending
then
doom chic.
gets their own, like, guard at that point. Guard tower.
Yeah, kind of. Yes, kind of. Yeah. So, but before long, there were actually 2,000 men that were
Oh my
there.
God.
So it wasn't 15 people for very long. That was just at first. So it grows to about 2,000 men that were incarcerated at this penitentiary. And then, let's see, and that was kind of average, I guess,
Wow.
for going on in the future. I'm sure there was like overcrowding and stuff at some point, and but in general, 2,000 was kind of the average
Okay.
that was housed there. The prison admitted its first female inmate. Hey,
Woo!
ladies, you get some too.
Pro-feminism.
Women
in prison.
So that was in 1842.
Wow.
So yeah,
What,
it
did
wasn't
she
actually
show
that.
her leg?
I don't know, and I'll talk about some of the prisoners that were there, and there were a couple like pretty intense lady prisoners that were housed here. It was actually kind of crazy.
She bit off her
rapist
penis. That's what it is.
Well, I don't know who she was or what she did, but apparently there was a female inmate there in 1842.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was just joking about all that. Women do awful things too.
Yes, they do. They do. Women do.
I was just kidding. Making a joke.
No, it's fine. All right. So, and then early on, so they basically built this prison to be a lease work program. So local businessmen would actually hire inmates to do work for them.
Okay.
So, yeah, and actually several buildings in Jefferson City, because it's the capital, so they need buildings now to be the capital, I guess.
Because they just had a prison before.
Yes, yeah. So the prisoners actually helped build the Capitol in Jefferson City. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. They also built the governor's mansion, and several homes were built by kind of like prison labor, and prisoners basically being like leased out to businessmen to basically build the town. It's actually kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think I mean, work programs are a thing to this day. So, it might have been groundbreaking at the time, but it's pretty standard now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of cool that, I don't know, it could be cool if you think of it that way, or it could be kind of sad that prisoners basically built the capital city of Missouri.
Yeah,
but,
I was literally just like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, is that
good,
sad or
bad?
Is that cool? I don't know.
Prisoners were
currently undecided.
I don't know, walking around with families and stuff, building their homes for them. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could think of it as it gives them something to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they probably didn't pay them well, if at all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an issue. I don't really know. It didn't really talk about if they were slave labor or not, but, either way, it happened. All right, so they basically put the prisoners to work, like hardcore. And over the years, the prison actually became an industrial site, which is why it has multiple buildings. And by 1885, it housed 6 shoe factories, a clothing factory, broom and twine factories, and the largest saddle tree factory in the world. I don't know what a saddle tree is, but it's a thing apparently.
Whoa. I mean, it's all impressive, but yeah, a saddle tree.
Yeah, don't know what that is.
Kyle, what's that?
I believe that's what you just sit the saddle on when you're done.
Oh, duh.
It's like a
that makes
coat
sense.
hook. Haltree, like a haltree.
Yeah.
We have those. They're
Yes,
coat
for
they're
your
coat
saddle.
racks, but that's what they are. They were called haltrees. Wow.
Saddle.
Okay.
Oh my
I don't
God,
know that
that's
for
funny.
sure. That's just an educated guess.
I think that's a better educated guess than anything I could have come up
Yeah.
with, so good job. All right, so and all of those buildings were built using this like prison labor, and they were staffed by prisoners as well.
Okay.
Yes, so they like literally put them to work, which is, kind of crazy. All right, so I'm going to take you on a little tour of these buildings. So in 1868, Housing Unit 4, A Hall, and I'm going to refer to it as A Hall from now on, was built to house post-Civil War criminals. And it was constructed of stone quarried from the site, basically where they were, getting all of these bricks and stuff from. It was quarried from there. And it was mainly built by inmates.
Okay.
Again, they're like building their own prison cell, I guess.
Yeah. Although
yeah.
it leaves lots of room for mischief.
Yes, and there were a couple jailbreaks. I didn't really include them because they honestly weren't that interesting.
Yeah.
There was one actually that's pretty interesting. I did include that one.
Well, I just mean
there
like
were a couple.
It would be wild, like, they have like a pickaxe or something like that they're like working with, building stuff. And they end up like building it into the wall to then later be like, I put this there.
I'm going to come back for this. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I remember hearing stories like that in like Jewish prison camps.
Oh.
Where because they were kind of doing the same thing where they were like, basically forcing these, prisoners, these Jewish prisoners in these, concentration camps to build their own like housing and things like that.
Ugh.
And if I might be getting this story wrong, so don't get mad at me if it's like not quite right, but there was one story about these, this group of people that were working in these concentration camps that ended up building tunnels underneath the buildings that they were building to get out, to basically like stage a coup and like funnel a whole bunch of people out. I don't remember if they actually made it out or not. I feel like that's something that I should remember, but unfortunately it's escaping me at this moment. But I think that was like an actual thing that actually happened at some point during the war. But
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's probably happened a lot.
Yes, it's just like, okay, well, I'm going to build this place. Let me like make this loophole and I'll come back for it later. Yeah.
Let me put
as far as I know, that didn't happen with this, but I don't know. I mean, maybe we just don't know about it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So okay. So A Hall, it was again built by prisoners, and it was actually used basically until the day the prison closed, which I believe was in 2004.
Whoa.
Yes. So it was that heavy duty, which is kind of interesting.
And looking at the picture, it like looks so old and so run down, but it's like it didn't even close like 20 years ago.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and it looks like the inside is all brick and, so it looks very, like the outside doesn't look quite as prisonish, but when you go inside of it,
looks pretty.
Absolutely a prison. Yeah, it's absolutely a prison, and it's kind of scary looking. All right. So this, the massive stone building is the oldest building at the prison today. So that's A Hall. So everything after that, that's still standing, well, obviously was newer. A Hall is the oldest. The oldest of old buildings obviously didn't survive. So, yeah, that was kind of a roundabout way to say that that's the oldest building that stands today,
Okay.
but you know what I mean. So Missouri State Penitentiary also has a basement. I think it's, if I remember correctly, I think it's in A Hall, and it's actually nicknamed the Hole.
Ew.
And yes, and the reason they call it that is because it's actually like a dungeon style cell block in the basement. And that was where they obviously housed the worst of the worst, including all of their death row inmates, because they did have, the death penalty, and they put people to death in this prison. So,
Anyone
yeah,
like
and
big go there?
yes.
Oh, are we gonna get there?
Yeah, we'll get there. All right. So in the 1990s, the penitentiary was considered one of the most efficient prisons in the country, and the Jefferson City Star-Tribune declared it as, quote, the greatest in the world. And then I wrote whatever the fuck that means.
What the fuck?
It's just like, I have the greatest prison in the world. It's like, congratulations, you're really good at putting people in prison. Like,
oh my god.
okay, cool. That's a dick swinging contest if I ever saw one.
Look, we made Capitol Hood just based on this. Look how great it is.
Yes.
Oh, it is great. Oh my god.
It's just kind of depressing.
Show me your massive prison.
Yes, I need to know everything about your prison. Oh my god. Okay,
That's too much. We're way too much. We're so extra tonight.
Yes, we are. All right, so Housing Unit 1 was constructed in 1905, and that was where they housed the female inmates. And it's now the main entrance to the penitentiary. So when you see this, like, kind of like college-looking facade, that was actually where the female inmates were kept.
Okay.
And if you think about it, that was 1905. And they got their first female inmate in 1842.
Oh, so until that point, they were just keeping the females with the men.
I assume so. I'm assuming they were probably like somewhat separated. But yes, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Land.
Yeah.
How did anyone survive?
They didn't. There was a lot of murders in this prison.
Oh, okay.
Yes, like oh my gosh, like it's okay. That's crazy. We'll get there. All right. So in 1914, Housing Unit 3 was built, which became the capital punishment and solitary confinement, or the segregation unit. So again, like now we're up to like 3 buildings on top of like all of the factories and shit that they have here. It was like literally a small city, which is probably why it got Capitol Hood, because the prison itself was the city. But
that's how they
I don't
had
know that for sure.
Oh my god, they had the highest population because they were all in prison.
That's an assumption.
Yes, that's an assumption.
Yes, yeah, it's and kind of a joke, but yes, it kind of does feel that way, doesn't it?
2,000 people, but they're all in prison.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it adds to the population, I suppose. Yeah. All right, let's see. So, okay, according to the Department of Justice, the prison housed 4,900 inmates in 1936, but at its peak, it actually housed 5,200, which is way more than it should have.
Oh my god.
In its, within its walls.
Another haunting shit list, overpopulation.
Yes. Well, and honestly, like most American prisons, like they're just overpopulation is like a serious problem. Mm-hmm. So, and apparently it was the same thing in the 30s, unfortunately.
So things haven't really changed.
No, they haven't, which is a sign of,
If you just keep doing it, maybe it'll get better. Let's just keep doing the same thing for hundreds of years, and it'll magically just fix itself. It'll be fine.
Yep. Well, yep. In case you don't understand our opinions about the American prison system, keep listening. I'm sure you'll get it. All right, let's see here. Where was I? Okay. So that was more than it was supposed to hold, and at the time, that was more inmates than any other facility in the
Oh my
country.
god.
Yeah, so you can just take that feather and take it out of your hat and shove it up your ass, because that is too many people.
Yeah.
And that is a problem.
Tooting your horn about your magnificent prison, and then people are just like
There's too
laying
many
on
people
top of
here.
each other because there's not enough room.
Yes, and then of course they're like, oh, it's state of the art, like the world's greatest prison, and it's just like you have a serious overpopulation problem, and it's kind of a sign. Like I feel like if you have the most inmates in your prison, like that's not something to brag about.
Exactly.
You know, that says something about your economy and the people that live in your town
And your
oh my
godforsaken
gosh.
capital that you so desperately wanted.
Yes, and we're not bashing Missouri's capital. Like, don't think that. We're just it's our prison America's prison
It's
system
the
is seriously fucked up,
decision
and this is
making. Like, oh, we have the best prison in the world. I worked so hard for this capital statement, like to be the capital, putting this prison here. We're the best. Hey. And then it's like, oh, actually, maybe we have a ton of criminals living here and they all need to go to prison. Which
yes,
isn't true.
Yeah.
I should just say
No,
that's
it's
not
not
true. But
no, it's a sign that our system is broken. But anyway, we don't need to go into that. All right, so executions were actually conducted by hanging
oh god.
until 1937,
Ugh.
when they installed a state-of-the-art gas chamber.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
And you see
that's
it.
even
Like
worse.
they go. Yes. Well, and in the Ghost Adventures episode, they go like they take you on kind of an in-depth little like tour of this gas chamber.
Oh my god.
And Aaron goes inside of it and like sits in the chairs, and of course Zach like shuts him in there, and it's just
Zach
like
is such a fucking dick. I hate him so much.
ouch.
He's a dick.
Okay.
I hate him. Like, he treats his staff like shit. Like, poor Aaron, like, gets the shit beat out of him by these fucking demons in every single episode because Zach's being an asshole. Like, hey,
Wow.
Aaron, you should go in the gas chamber. It'll be hilarious. Haha, you're locked in. God, I'm sorry.
He didn't lock him in. I should specify. He didn't lock him in. He just shut the door.
I'm sorry, that was my soapbox. I'm not going to hide my opinions about him just so everyone knows. It's coming.
I don't dislike him as much as Paige does.
I know,
but I do get it.
I just don't get it. Like, I don't get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's he's an onion. He's got a lot of layers, I
There
think.
you go.
Oh my god. Ouch. Okay, all right. We'll stop bashing Zach
I'm
Bagans
really
for
on a
now.
roll. I'm so sorry.
You are. That's okay. Okay, anyway, so this gas chamber was built by inmates using stones from this prison quarry.
That makes me want to vomit. Like, hey,
I know.
you're going to be executed in here. Can you just build this for me?
Yeah, it's like, go ahead and build your own death chamber. Here you go. Here's all the stuff you... Oh, wait, no, there's not the stuff you need. You have to go get it. It's over there. And then you can build this so you can go die in it.
Yeah, and then once you're done, we're going to put you all in there, and then you're going to die. And it's going to be worse than being hung. Hanged. Sorry.
Yes.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah, because there is a difference, as we learned.
Yes.
Yeah. So the new gas chamber would become the location of 40 executions,
Ugh.
which included the deaths of many infamous criminals, such as Claude McGee, George Bell, and Bonnie B. Heady. I don't know who any of those people are.
I don't know who they are
but
either.
apparently they're infamous, and the article mentioned them. So any history buffs, if you're super into Missouri's history, you might know
We should
who
write
they
those
are.
names down, and maybe we can cover them in a future episode.
Yes, maybe. Yeah. So that was Bonnie B. Heady, George Bell, and Claude McGee. And I think Bonnie was the only woman that was executed there. Everybody else was men. Oh, and by the way, most of the men were black, in case you're curious about what race is
Oh, that makes
prevalent
it
in
so much.
America's prison system.
Oh my god.
Yes, it was one of those things. They have photos of, because it's a museum now. So basically, this prison, you can tour it, and they have all kinds of different things that you can see in it, and you can actually go into the gas chamber and see it. And they have photos of the people that were executed there. And I saw it on Ghost Adventures. They kind of like pan to it, and kind of you get to kind of look at it. And I would say probably like 75% of the people that were executed there were black people, and it's just like, gee, I wonder if racism was a thing back then and still is.
Oh my god, what a shock. Oh.
I know. It was crazy. But yeah, anyway. So in 1938, a 5-story hospital unit was built with 240 beds, and it was added to this massive complex. Let's see. I didn't even need to say that.
I forgot
boring,
I interrupted you with my Zach Bagans soapbox.
Oh yeah.
So he shuts Aaron in the gas chamber, and then what?
Oh, he just leaves him in there for like a couple minutes.
God.
He doesn't like lock him in there. He just left him in there.
Of course he did. Of course.
Yeah, he does. Aaron does go back alone at some point and kind of just like sits in there just by himself and does some recordings. But I'll get to that because something does happen while he's in there.
Oh, I was gonna.
It's nothing crazy.
I was gonna say, this is kind of not really a side tangent, but today while visiting our parents, we went into this antique store and they had a embalming table.
Oh my god, what?
Yeah, and it was old. It was real old. And it's just funny because you were talking about how they were like going into the gas chamber and like sitting in the chair, and it was like, I mean, it's their job. Like that's literally their job to do shit like that, so I get it. But I literally couldn't even touch it. Like this table, I
don't know if I want to touch it either.
It just felt, and I know the people that laid on it were already dead, so realistically, like their spirits probably weren't attached to this table. But still, you just like get this vibe, like the energy, like death was here, and it just like I can only imagine it's probably so much worse when it's something like that. When it's just like 40 people have died in there. And even more so when it's like in Germany, when like hundreds of people died in these rooms. And you like walk in and it's like, I can only imagine the atmosphere is just awful.
Insane. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Aaron, I think even like started getting sick while he was in there. He just,
I'm sure,
felt, I don't know. Yeah, we'll get to it. But anyway, it's crazy.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
All right, so that's okay. This next part is basically the reason I picked this particular prison. Ooh. So juicy stuff is coming. Get ready. All right. On the evening of September 22nd, 1954, 2 inmates feigned illness, and when 2 guards came to investigate, they were overpowered, and 1 guard was severely beaten. The prisoners then stole their keys and released other prisoners.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And before long, several hundred inmates were running loose throughout the penitentiary, smashing windows and furnishings and setting fire to the prison, basically, and all the prison shops, and because apparently,
and there were
like all these
literally hundreds of other people still in their cells, and they were lighting the place on fire.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, but like, so around this time, apparently there was a whole bunch of other prison breaks and like riots and stuff that were happening in other prisons. So they were actually better prepared for this than other prisons were. It gets totally out of hand. Like, don't get me wrong. It gets absolutely out of hand. People die. It's crazy. But as far as I could tell, nobody actually like escaped the prison.
Okay.
You know, like it was relatively contained.
Okay. It was just complete madness in the walls, but outside it was fine.
Yes,
sunshiny day.
So they were kind of ready for it. Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
Oh god.
So yeah, so they're lighting shit on fire. It's absolute madness. By midnight, the Missouri Highway Patrol, Kansas City Police, and even St. Louis Police and the National Guard had surrounded the prison. Like I said, they were like ready for this. They were like on it, and they had it all surrounded, which I think was part of the reason why nobody actually ended up escaping. So, but by that time, 4 buildings were on fire. And before it was over, nearly 2,500 rioters were on the loose inside of the walls, and carnage continued throughout the night. Quote, that's a quote, carnage continued throughout the night. It's just absolutely insane. It's totally crazy.
Oh my God.
So the authorities announced to the press that there would actually be no attempt to secure the cell blocks that night, which kind of makes sense. Like it's almost like a toddler. Like you have to like let them wear themselves out before
like the
you
temper tantrum just
send in
kind of
reinforcements. Yes.
Oh look, they fell asleep.
These rioters were just. I mean, like they were kind of like at their peak, and you send in law enforcement, people are gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, like law enforcement's gonna die. So, and nobody, really wants that. So they kind of just like let them like burn themselves out.
What about the guards?
So we'll get to the casualties.
Okay.
In a second, okay. I believe, if I remember.
Well, I'm just
correctly,
like, did they just leave the guards high and dry? Like, sorry, good luck.
I think they kind of had to.
Oh my God.
I think, yes.
Oh,
yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. So, all right, so let's see. They decided that they're not going to secure the cell blocks that night, but rather the lawmen were tasked with preventing a breakout.
Okay.
So again, they're trying to contain at this moment. Yeah, and they're so far doing a pretty good job. I mean, it's crazy on the inside. Don't get me wrong. Like, absolute pandemonium on the inside. But on the outside, nobody's escaping. So that's the ultimate goal, I think, for this right now. So early the next morning, 18 men were chosen to lead the way into the cell blocks, where about 300 of the rioters were holed up in one of the 4-story white stone buildings. Other armed troopers were on the roof, and over 100 police officers were standing just outside the prison yard as a second wall of defense. So if anybody tried to break out, they would meet like wave after wave after wave of law enforcement to prevent them from going anywhere.
Right.
And so basically, okay, I'm going to give you a quote. It's kind of a long one, but bear with me. Okay, so quote. This is from that article that I mentioned at the beginning. Quote, in the meantime, the 18 men tasked with going into the prison building were heavily armed with riot guns and submachine guns. Again, because we're in America. But anyway, that's beside the point. Upon their entry, they were bombarded with shouting, cursing, and things being thrown at them. All the windows had been broken out, and the building was filled with 4 inches of standing water. Yeah.
Oh my
Over
God.
the loudspeaker,
they're moaning, myrtling it.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God.
Flooding their own toilets.
Yeah. All right. Over the loudspeaker, the convicts were ordered to get into the nearest cell and be quiet, or they will be shot.
Huh.
One inmate who ignored the order was killed, and the rest retreated into the cells before the building was secured. As many as 9 men were locked away in each cell. Because they were just like, get into the nearest cell. I don't care how many of you are in there, just get in there. So they were crammed in there. And these cells are small. It's kind of nuts, actually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it would be mid-afternoon before the rioters were processed and everyone was returned to their proper cells.
So it was like how many hours later?
Let's see here. Let's go over it a little bit really quick. Ooh, okay, so on the evening of September 22nd. Okay, so that's when it starts.
Evening.
And then
Afternoon.
by midnight, that's when the police get there. They decide not to do anything that night. And then early the next morning, 18 men go in, storm the castle, yada, yada, yada. And then, let me see here.
And then by afternoon.
Yes. So by mid-afternoon before the rioters, it was, okay, so let's say maybe like 20 hours.
Okay.
Let's just guess at that, about 20 hours. So when it was all over, only 4 inmates had been killed,
Oh
believe
my
it or not.
gosh.
I feel like that's not that many. I mean, that's a lot for, a body count, but think about like what actually happened. Only 4 had actually died. I'm surprised it wasn't
Yeah.
more. So only 4 had been killed, one of whom was in solitary confinement, who was tortured and murdered by other prisoners.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's where my brain went. Was like, I'm surprised it wasn't like a free-for-all on like, yo, Bobby stole my sandwich last week. He's got to be shanked.
Yes. Well, and there was one story about, I heard it on the Ghost Ventures episode, but there was one story about, I don't know if this happened during the riot, but this one inmate was a snitch, and he was being transported from one part of the prison to another, so he actually had guards around him, and a couple of inmates actually broke down a brick wall to get to him.
Oh my
and
god.
they basically like beat him with a hammer and killed him.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and I think like guards were even there, and I think they even like stormed in and like past the guards and just like beat the shit out of this guy. It was kind of crazy.
So did they,
So
what happened to them? Did the guards like just...
I actually don't know. I mean, they probably got thrown into solitary confinement, but well, and there was another story about a guy who he was in solitary confinement for like 17 years solid.
Whoa, that's like Bronson? No, is that Bronson?
Well, he ended up writing a book about it because he ended up getting out and he writes a book about it. Unfortunately, I didn't think that it was important, and now I feel silly. But
no, there was like there's a
wrote a
really
book about
famous
it.
inmate, Charles Bronson. I don't know his name. He's in Europe, but he's broken out of literally like 12 prisons.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, this guy didn't break out. He was stuck in.
Yeah, but that's what they do. They end up just
forever,
putting him in solitary confinement for like years.
A long ass time. Yeah. He basically served almost his entire sentence, I think, in solitary. It's crazy.
Oh my god.
Okay, but anyway, back to this riot.
So and so stole a sandwich, so he got beat to death.
Yeah, so he was murdered by prisoners. Another 50 inmates were actually injured, and 1 attempted suicide. 4 officers were injured. No inmates were able to escape during the incident.
Mm-hmm.
But like in terms of like what could have happened, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. No officers died,
Yes.
which I'm shocked. I mean, they were like under siege for 20 hours. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, and who knows? Like maybe like they were able to get themselves into like a separate area. Who knows? But they were injured, and there was that one that was severely beaten. Or maybe they just complied and they kind of left them alone. Like I don't really know. It didn't really go into that much detail, but it's kind of crazy. So basically, like I said, they set fire to a whole bunch of buildings. So there are a whole bunch of burned out husks of basically several buildings that were smoldering, and the damage was astronomical at the time. It was estimated to be $5 million, which is a lot.
Oh my god, at the time?
I think so, yeah.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So the riot started and ended in Housing Unit 3, in case you're curious. That was like,
okay.
They started it, they finished it, the end.
Okay, so the other buildings, this didn't really happen?
No, well, no, it did. Like, it spread, but they were easier to contain
Okay.
than Housing 3. Because it was like, that was like ground zero. So they basically like contained everything else and then came back to ground zero, which was Housing Unit 3.
Okay.
So, but they set fire to,
Everything.
like I said, several buildings. So it was kind of everywhere. I mean, what did I say? Like 2,500 inmates or something were like running amok in this place. It's crazy. So because of this whole riot, Time magazine in 1967 gave it the title "The Bloodiest 47 Acres in America."
Even though
So I hinted at that
only
earlier.
like what, 4 people died?
Yeah, but I mean, there was carnage, like for sure. There was a lot of people hurt, like 50 inmates were injured,
Eyeballs
and
being pulled out,
probably there was a lot of shanking or shivving
teeth
or
bashing,
is it? Yeah,
curb
yeah,
stomping.
it's
Oh my
yeah,
god.
that kind of stuff. So it was not great for sure. Well, and I think part of it was because I think it was one of the biggest prison riots. Like, while it was well contained, I think it was one of the bigger ones, which is probably why it was, seen as, this horrible, the bloodiest acres,
Right.
the bloodiest 47 acres in America.
That's weirdly
All right.
specific.
Yes. But now I know how big this place is, 47 acres.
It's just funny, the bloodiest 47 acres in America. I don't know, I feel like...
I mean, it's like, forget about Gettysburg.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like, oh, Gettysburg can suck it. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Or like the numerous war sites that, we have across this country.
Right, or like slave
The Alamo.
plantations, or... God.
Yes, yeah. Well, like, and like Indian reservations and all of that stuff. It's just like, let's just throw all that out the window. Let's talk about this person.
Yeah, where 4 people died.
Yes,
because they were being
there were
psychos.
a lot injured though. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. All right, let's see here. Okay, so in 2004, after 168 years of operation, the prison officially closed and inmates were moved to the new Jefferson County Correctional Facility,
Oh, thank
which I'm
God.
sure is still overpopulated, but we'll just leave that there. During its history, the facility contained as many as 50 buildings. That's how huge this place was. So who called this place home? Because there's a lot of people coming in and out of here in its almost 200-year history. Who are some of the like heavy hitters? No pun intended.
Oh god.
You'll see why in a second.
Oh god.
So in 1925, one of the prison's most infamous inmates, Charles Arthur, quote, Pretty Boy Floyd, arrived, and he is well known for his bank robberies.
Oh, isn't that the guy that... Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou, the bank robber? Isn't that who he's based off
I haven't
of?
seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou in a long time. I don't know. But he, apparently Pretty Boy had committed, like, too many bank robberies.
Yeah.
It's just like... Well, I think he had a lot of friends that were high up in, like, the mob, too. But again, I don't really know that for sure. That's just, I'm trying to recall that from memory, so don't quote me on that. But he was involved in the Kansas City Massacre.
What is that?
And, well, I had a link for it, and it disappeared. So let me just put that on pause real quick. All right, I found a little quick blurb on the Kansas City Massacre in case anybody's curious. So I got this from Wikipedia. So the Kansas City Massacre was a shootout and murder of 4 law enforcement officers and a criminal fugitive at the Union Station Railroad Depot in Kansas City, Missouri, on the morning of June 17th, 1933. Let's see. It occurred as part of the attempt by a gang led by Vernon Miller to free Frank Jelly Nash from federal prison. And apparently Pretty Boy was
There.
involved in that whole thing.
Huh.
Yes. All right. So here was another one. This one was probably my personal favorite.
That's morbid.
A little bit. But I think you'll appreciate it.
It's how we operate here.
Yes. So this next person, her name is, yes, that's another reason why I'm like, oh, I kind of like this one. Her name is Blanche Barrow of the Bonnie and Clyde gang.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So she was actually the wife of Clyde's older brother.
Oh.
Yeah. So she was like in deep with Bonnie and Clyde, which is, kind of why it's a little bit more fun. But so she was captured in 1933 and was sentenced to 10 years in this prison.
What for?
For
Like
assault?
just... Oh, sorry, were you going to...
Well, I'll tell
Okay,
you.
sorry.
Assault with intent to kill.
Oh God.
Yeah, but she was actually a model prisoner and was released in 1939, so she only served a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another person was, let's see, in 1950, Charles Sonny Liston, who later became a heavyweight boxing champion, which is, why I had that pun a little bit earlier.
Oh, heavy hitter.
Remember back to that. Yeah. So he was sentenced to time in the Missouri State Prison for armed robbery.
Oh my God.
Which is actually where he learned how to box. And about a year after his release in 1952, he became a professional boxer. And in 1953, he won the National Heavyweight Championship.
Wow, I want to be like, that's so cool. But the armed robbery thing is not good.
I mean, I kind of feel like the robbery is just slightly better than like the assault with intent to kill.
Sure, at least he didn't murder anyone. Or try to murder anyone.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And some good came out of it. He was apparently like a really, really good boxer. So the next person is James Earl Ray, who was held in prison. He was in prison there in 1959 for repeated offenses of burglary.
Okay.
So this is the interesting one, and one of the only like escaped stories that I grabbed. And here's why. So he actually escaped in 1967 by hiding inside of a delivery truck. And while he was at large, he went to a civil rights rally and assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. in Memphis, Tennessee.
Whoa!
Yep.
I did not make that connection. Wow.
Well, I worded it so that you wouldn't. So.
Okay, wait. I guess. So, I'm really embarrassed to admit this, but as I said off camera, recording, whatever, the public education system has greatly failed me sometimes, I feel.
I agree.
I did not know that the person who assassinated him was an escaped convict.
I didn't either. I mean, it kind of doesn't surprise me, like, now that I know this, but I didn't really either, unfortunately, it didn't say if he escaped to try to assassinate him or if he escaped and then ended up assassinating him. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like that was his intention when he escaped. But yes, he was in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4th, 1968, where he assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. He was soon apprehended.
What was his name?
And he was actually sent. His name was James Earl Ray.
Okay.
And I never knew his name, which honestly I'd rather not know his name.
Yeah, maybe they
and just
intentionally didn't, because it's like, it's not about him. It's about Martin Luther King Jr. But I'm just like, it just never occurred to me that I didn't know anything about the person who assassinated him. Was he like a racist white dude or what? Was he like a black dude that's pissed?
I actually don't know. I didn't actually look up a photo of him. I probably should have. I'm assuming he's probably a racist fucker, but that's I think from what I do remember from education here, private or public school education, I think he was
he was white.
Asshole. Yeah, so he was a racist asshole. But yeah, so anyway, he was actually sent back to prison in Tennessee, so he didn't come back to this prison to finish out his time.
Okay.
He went to prison for the assassination in Tennessee.
And what was he initially in prison for, do you know?
Burglary. Multiple offenses of burglary.
Wow, and then he escapes and assassinates Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
That is bonkers. Okay.
I know. It's totally wild. And it's February, so it's...
Black History Month?
Yes. So yes, it is Black History Month, which is pretty, awesome and amazing. So it's kind of timely that we're talking about that. But anyway.
Super sad at the same time. Yowza.
Yeah. All right. So after the prison closed in 2004, it fell into disrepair, which is like, so when you see photos of it, it looks
Decrepit.
scary as fuck. Yes, and this is why it kind of just, kept getting sadder and sadder and sadder and more decrepit. But it actually reopened as a tourist attraction, offering history and paranormal tours. So they really do capitalize on like their haunted history. And sometimes these tours are led by former inmates and even former guards, which I think is pretty cool. And then let's see here. Oh, this is actually a kind of a fun fact. So nearly
I just can't imagine being a former inmate and being like, yeah, let me take you on a tour of this place.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I even saw like they have a board that I saw a photo of it. They have a board that has all of the shanks.
Oh my god.
Or is it shivs?
They're different.
Do you I know. Well, one of them is an action and one of them is a tool, and I can't remember which one's which.
I learned that on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes, two different things. I think you shank with a shiv. I think is how it goes.
Okay.
But I'm not totally sure. But anyway, they have basically a board of all of the shivs that they had kind of collected from inmates. And I'm really curious if like occasionally some of the tour guides that were inmates were like, oh yeah, this one was mine. Like I
better not tell anyone. They might not let me work here anymore.
Yeah. His name was Sparky.
His name was Sparky and we cuddled.
No, that was terrible. Anyway. All right, okay. Let's hear. So next this is kind of a fun fact. I thought this was interesting. So this penitentiary is actually almost 100 years older than Alcatraz.
Oh my god. Okay,
yes.
that puts it more in perspective for me.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was just kind of like, oh my god. So, and it's no wonder that it's haunted as fuck. Like, oh my god, it's just so old. It's crazy. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the hauntings. But I think for you to like fully appreciate it, I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of like the layout of like kind of what these things, what's inside of buildings. Okay. So a hall is basically a massive stone building, and inside of it, there's 4 tiers of cells with catwalks that kind of circle and go around. It's your typical prison. Like when you're standing on the base or on the first floor, you look up through 4 floors and see the ceiling. Okay, I hope that makes sense for people. So the doors of the cells, at least the older cells in some of the like older parts of these buildings, were less than 5 feet tall. And they did that on purpose. It basically forced the prisoners to bend down and take a, quote, subordinate posture when leaving their cells.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, it left them, I guess, basically, like, it let people have the opportunity to either attack them, or it gave guards the opportunity to, like, smack them, or who knows, but they had to bend down to get out or inside their cell.
That is so...
It's just kind of degrading,
weird. We're gonna make them bend down to get out of their cells. Isn't that funny?
I didn't even think about that. Yes, that's just like, that's another one of those like dick swinging contests.
Yeah,
it's just like, I'm a big tough man and I'm gonna make this other big tough man bend down in front of me.
That's just weird. God.
Anyway. All right, inmates were not allowed to look the guards in the eye. And if they did, an infraction could result, which meant that they could be whipped at the whipping post.
Oh my God.
Or thrown in solitary confinement.
For looking at them?
So this was not, yes, for looking at them, for talking back, or, addressing them in an appropriate way, or I don't know, who the fuck knows. But either way, they were abused, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So inside of a hall, again, is the basement that has the hole or the dungeons. And that's where they kept the death row inmates. They also had violent prisoners, disruptive prisoners, anybody suffering from any mental health issues. They basically just like shoved them in the hole and kind of forgot about
Oh
them. Like
my
I said, that one
God.
guy spent like 17 years in the hole. Yeah. Which is crazy because if you think about like people that need, medical attention, if they have mental health issues and need to, be treated, they're kind of stuck down
Yeah.
there. So people literally went crazy down
Well,
there.
and I mean, in the past, like, mental health has been so frowned upon. Like, I mean, they just didn't,
Yeah.
people just didn't understand it or care to understand it. So it was just like, they're just, degenerates from society and they were just ostracized. So why wouldn't the prison system be any different? Like, you're
No,
sad,
you're
you're
right.
feeling
It's
really
just,
depressed. Okay, well, maybe you should just never see the sun again because that might make you feel better.
yeah. Well, and it was another thing where it's like, we don't have time to deal with you. We don't know how to deal with you. I'm just going to like put you in a hole
Yeah.
and just call it good. And like, so the guy that I talked about that was down there for like 17 years or something, it was like a badge of honor that he didn't come out crazy.
Oh, God.
And because it's like the hole drove people literally insane.
Yeah.
It was absolutely nuts. And he said that he would take a button off of his uniform and because it's dark down there, like it's solitary confinement, you are in pitch black all day, every day for years, sometimes. So he said that he would take a button off of his uniform and throw it, and then he'd go and look for it. And that was what kept him from going insane.
That breaks.
Because he had to like give himself something to do.
Oh my God, that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, Marco Polo with a fucking button.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And they show it in the Ghost Adventures episode. They go inside some of the solitary confinement cells, and they are very grim. It's like, it's almost like rock. Like you're inside of like rock. Because it's so, like
Primitive.
these bricks were hand chiseled by people. So it's not, it's not smooth floors or anything like that. Oh my gosh. And they had to sleep on a metal bench. I don't even think they got a mattress. It was just like a metal bench.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the paranormal stuff that goes on in Hall A. So people have reported feeling touched by ghostly hands,
Ugh.
an overwhelming smell of BO.
Ew.
I know, which is like, oh my God, like it's so sad and gross at the same time.
Yeah, because they probably didn't allow them to shower.
No, probably not. If they did, they probably just like hosed him down and called it good.
Ugh.
People also regularly see an apparition of a man walking around the catwalk and movements of shadows in the darkness,
Ugh.
which is just like so eerie. You can't even handle
Yeah.
it. Equipment often malfunctions in a hall, and it's usually accompanied by disembodied voices captured on recorders if the recorder, doesn't get drained of battery or something like that. Yep. Some have even felt invisible breathing or like breath on their necks, which is just like, it's so gross.
Ew.
Yeah. Cell number 48 housed a prisoner that was a snitch. This was one that I told you about. And then, so ultimately what happened to him was a wall was broken down by two other inmates and they bludgeoned him to death with a hammer.
Where did they even get a hammer?
I don't even know. Well, this one even says a sledgehammer. The Ghost Adventures thing said it was just a hammer, but this article says a sledgehammer. I don't know which one it was. And this also says that was during the riot of 1954.
Oh my God.
So I wonder if that was the guy that was tortured. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. So people also report feeling a very heavy vibe, a very heavy energy, and an unearthly human figure has actually been caught on camera.
Oh, unearthly?
I don't really know what that means. I don't know if it means like if it's tall or if it's just like blobby. I'm not totally sure. It just says unearthly figure.
Huh.
Near the control room and some of the other housing units lurks an entity known as Fast Jack.
Oh God. That sounds just horrible.
You know, he's not as bad as it sounds. Like, the way they worded that, it sounds very ominous, and it's actually not that bad.
Okay.
But he's apparently wearing a white lab coat and carries around a clipboard.
What?
And yeah, so he just sounds kind of like a dork. But either way, I'm sure he's, smart.
You know what, Jillian? He's probably the only one who's evaluating people on their mental health, and you just insulted him.
That's true. You know what? You're right. I'm sorry, Fast Jack. I didn't mean to do that. I hope you do good work, or did good work. I'm sorry you died. But he was thought to be a trustee who worked in the medical facility. So you might be right. He could be the only one treating these people.
Or delivering the babies from the female inmates that were inevitably raped and then impregnated.
Yes, that's true.
Sorry, that got really dark.
Well, eventually they got their own cell block, their own building.
Eventually.
So yeah, eventually after I don't even remember how many years, but too many years. Okay, let's see. So that was Fast Jack. At one point, a tour guide actually passed through the control center to secure the outer doors, only to return a few minutes later, and all the lockers had been opened.
Oh, that's icky.
Yeah, so it's just...
It was Fast Jack.
You clean
he's
up.
Just that speedy.
He's fast. Yeah, he's quick, I guess. I wonder if that's how he got the name Fast Jack. It didn't say.
Opening all the lockers.
Yeah.
This is my thing, guys. I'm real fast.
I'm real fast to get open all the lockers.
Watch how fast I can do it.
Poor Fast Jack. Oh my gosh.
I feel bad.
He was probably a very cool person. Let's just go with that. Others report him having been seen in hallways, moving through walls, and appearing for short moments before vanishing fastly. That was dumb, sorry.
Quickly?
Really dumb. Quickly, yes, because he's Quick Jack. No, he's Fast Jack. Okay, anyway, I haven't been drinking and I sound like an idiot. Okay. All right, now we get to the female wing. Here we go. All right, in the female wing, a female ghostly figure is often seen dressed in vintage clothing.
Oh.
Others have even seen a man in a dated prison uniform leaning against a fence. And strangely, some have even heard the ghost of children and even a dog.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know where the dog came from, but who knows?
Or theoretically the children, but we probably know where they came from.
Yeah, the children also. That is weird.
I feel like we probably know.
As far as I know, there was no daycare in the prison.
Well, I just mean, they were probably raped and then got pregnant from, guards or other inmates.
Yes. Yeah. Or they might have come into the prison pregnant, too, because I know that probably happens a lot also. But yes, at least the ones that, before they had their own cell block, I'm sure that kind of stuff happened frequently.
Yeah.
Demons also frequently mimic children.
This is true.
They do, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Something a little bit more trusting. I don't know. Well, and the Ghost Adventures people, they tend to blow stuff out of proportion, in my opinion, but they did get some signs that they're like,
really, Jillian? They blow things out of proportion? It's Zach Bagans. Of course he does. Sorry, continue. What were you going to say?
You're right. Okay, that's okay. We'll get to it.
Okay.
All right. Let me see here. Okay, so in some of the older buildings and throughout various buildings in this huge complex, people have heard cell door slamming, ghostly footsteps. They actually caught footsteps on the Ghost Adventures episode, which was kind of interesting. Lots of loud banging. Again, they caught a lot of that on the Ghost Adventures episode. Shadowy figures, the smell of cigarette smoke.
Ew.
And objects being mysteriously moved around, and fast-moving entities like Fast Jack.
I'm sorry.
I know. I love Fast Jack. He could be like our little spokesperson, Fast Jack.
Aww.
I don't know. I kind of just love Fast Jack. Anyway, they also report people feel a sense of dread and sorrow and being watched, which I will say, Zach, Aaron, and Nick experienced all of those things, which was kind of interesting. So Tom Wells was a former guard,
Okay.
and he is now a tour guide. And he actually said that while he was working at the prison's clothing factory, he said that he was standing inside one of the buildings talking to another inmate. And as they were talking, a different inmate kind of walks by and walks out the building into basically like the prison yard. And it was right before what they called the count. So they, again, they have to do counts throughout the day to make sure that nobody's escaped and nobody's gone missing and, whatnot. So it was right before the count. So he's a guard, so he has to go after this guy to get him to make sure that he's counted.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't find him. He's looking all over the place, can't find him. And the inmate that he was talking to when this all happened comes up to him and casually says, "You ain't gonna find that guy." So apparently
What?
this like ghostly, prisoner, he was dressed like a prisoner, kind of comes and goes, and inmates apparently would see him a lot, but this was the first time the guard had. And he didn't recognize him. The guard didn't recognize him. But apparently he was a ghost. So
Oh.
him and an inmate, Zach, like doing his thing, like him and this inmate saw a full-bodied apparition, which was like one of like their biggest and best stories that they've accumulated so far, was that these two people had seen a full-bodied apparition. But
Wow.
again,
So did you see
blowing
it on
things
the
out of
show?
proportion
Like,
here.
did you see the apparition?
So no, they did a reenactment of it, but because it was a secondhand story from a prison guard.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
But yeah, but there was another. This was actually interesting. So there was another. What was her name? Let's see here. Oh yes. Okay. So there was another woman. Her name is Lupe Beckham, and she's a tour guide. And she actually got a video of a cell, a window inside of a cell opening on its own.
Oh,
It was like a little shutter. And I did see that one. They showed that one on the Ghost Adventures episode. It doesn't move very much, but it moves enough for you to kind of see it and wonder like what's going on. And they actually went to go see this window, and it's it's cell number 40, which is, it looked like it was on the second level. So there wasn't really any way that somebody outside could have like pushed the window in and opened it from the inside. Like there wasn't really a way to do that. And as far as the tour guide who recorded it knows, it wasn't a windy evening. So, yeah. But that one was an interesting video clip for sure.
That's cool. Like, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you never get it on camera. But, you know, every once in a while you do, and it sounds pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of interesting. Let's see. Maggie Scott is another tour guide, and she hates going into A Hall because apparently one time she was sitting there in basically like the main cell block of A Hall, and she felt someone grab her shoulder and squeeze it really hard. Yeah, so now she doesn't like to go in there anymore, and I kind of don't blame her. Let's see. A shadow man is also known to, it kind of wanders through. It didn't give me a specific cell number, so I kind of wonder if it kind of does this in a couple of cells. But tour people, or tourists, I guess, are allowed to go in some of the cells. And apparently what sometimes happens is a shadow man will basically like come at you from inside of the cell to push you out so that you're not in the cell anymore.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But apparently that's happened to like a few people, which is kind of nuts.
Oh my God, that is horrifying.
I know. Yeah. Let me see here. I actually have the name of the guy that was beaten with a hammer. His name is Walter Lee Donnell, in case you're curious. That was my next point, but I've already talked about it, so I don't have to go into it. Let's see here. So the dungeon. So I already mentioned Lupe. She was the one that had the window footage. So she actually takes tour groups down into the dungeon, and pretty regularly she'll hear what she calls cries of pain.
Oh no.
Yeah, and people get scratched down there all the time. Nick went down there and did kind of an EVP session down there when Ghost Adventures was there, and he heard, it sounds like, well, okay, first of all, he got multiple EVPs. It was kind of crazy. But it sounds like the first one that he got, it sounds like it says stop, but it's kind of elongated, like stop kind of thing.
Oh.
I know. And then the next one he got was stop fucking with me.
Oh.
And then he got another one that said demon.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then he basically got like too freaked out to stay down there. So on his way back up out of the hole to go find Zach, he is like kind of running up the stairs a little bit. And it's because he says that he can hear footsteps coming up behind him. So when he finally gets to Zach, they're both just like looking and kind of talking, and they're kind of looking at the stairs down into the dungeon. Your face.
Oh, well, that's
you look
literally
so
like
disgusted.
every person's nightmare. I mean, if you haven't done the whole like freak out, run up the stairs thing from the basement because you think something might be coming up behind you,
yeah,
you
haven't lived.
You haven't lived. Everyone literally does that, and it actually happened. Oh.
Yeah.
Puke.
Yes. And it happened in a place like this. Like, it's so creepy. So anyway, so he gets up, meets Zach, they're kind of talking, and, you know, he's telling him about the voices that he was hearing. And then they both stop talking because they both hear the footsteps coming up the stairs again. And then you hear this really weird growl.
Oh my God.
Which was kind of crazy. Oh. That was a little bit nuts.
You heard it on the thing? Like in the...
Yeah. Yeah, you hear it like before they even point it out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
horrifying.
It was a little bit crazy. Yeah.
Oof.
Okay, let's see here. So next, okay, so this was when they had helpers. So Billy and Jay, I don't watch Ghost Adventures that much, so I don't really know a lot about Billy and Jay, but Billy and Jay basically like sit at the computers all night and like monitor stuff.
Oh yeah.
So Billy and Jay were actually trying, they were actually doing almost like an EVP session over a walkie-talkie because they were at like base, like computer command central, and they left a walkie-talkie in one of the cells with a device called the Ovulus.
Oh, yeah. It's like a spirit box, right?
Yes, kind of. So there's the spirit box and there's the Ovulus, and they do use a spirit box somewhere else, but the Ovulus, basically, you ask it things, and it gives you very robotic words. It sounds a little bit like Siri, where it's just like, it kind of spits out these random words. Mm-hmm. And then the spirit box actually scans radio frequencies.
That's right.
So it sounds very staticky. So this was the Ovulus. It didn't sound staticky. It just kind of spit out robotic words every once in a while. So they're basically asking questions through the walkie-talkie to the Ovulus.
Oh my gosh.
I thought an interesting way of doing it. But, I mean, they got shit done because they got stuff. So the Ovulus spit out Reverend, then information, then Jesus, change, and then Bible.
Okay.
So some of those words kind of go together, which I thought was kind of interesting. When it's spitting out like really random stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, what is it even doing? But this one, like, they had words that kind of went together, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then about 20 seconds after they got the word Bible, they got the word demon.
Oh!
Yes. And then they ended up hearing two very distinct metallic bangs, which you can hear, like, before they point them out. Like, it was pretty obvious. And then shortly after that, when they kind of reconvene with Nick and Zach, it starts spitting out other words, and it says, now, trap, will, twist, men, apart, see, Nick.
Oh, man.
Isn't that crazy?
Nick better watch out. He's going to be twisted and pulled apart.
I know. Well, and it was kind of crazy because Zach was doing, when they were doing a walkthrough with like a tour guide, like before they even started the lockdown, Zach got this like really weird feeling in one of the cell blocks where he was just like, I mean, you know how he gets. He gets like kind of huffy and puffy
And very
storms around
dramatic,
sometimes.
and it's stupid.
Yes. This was different. This was like he was really quiet and calm, and he was like, "Hey Nick, you need to come over here." Like, so they basically like ditched the tour guide for a second. And Zach is like, "I'm feeling some weird shit." So he ends up going back to this place like later in the night to do an EVP session. And he describes it starts out as like a really weird stomach ache, and he notes it. He's like, "Hey, I'm like getting some weird stomach pains." And it basically grew to like, I honestly thought they were going to have to take him to like the ER. They obviously didn't, but he was like, he had some really intense like stomach pain.
Mm.
And he says like, I went through, I checked all the boxes. Like, I ate over 3 hours ago, so I don't think it's food poisoning. I don't have diarrhea. I don't have nausea. My stomach just feels like it's being twisted, for like a lack of a better word.
Mm.
And then later on in the night, they get this twist men apart thing.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, it was a weird coincidence, but anyway.
Yeah.
And then they also caught in A-Hall, they captured this really weird, they called it a mist, but I don't even think it was a mist. If I didn't know any better, I would probably think it was a bug because it was really solid. Like whatever it was really solid.
Ew.
And it went from one side of the cell block across the camera range to the other. And it was another one where it was like, you don't even need to tell me what I'm looking at. Like, I can see that there's something weird flying across the screen right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it was, but they caught it. It was interesting. Yeah. In C Hall, Zach kept feeling like he was being watched, and then that was where he had the really intense stomach pain. He suspected that it could have been residual energy. Sorry, I'm like jumping around my notes
That's
right now. He suspected it could be residual energy from an inmate that might have been stabbed. He is speculating. Right. I'm going to be totally honest, but
he does. He's doing totally what he does
out there,
being dramatic. I should say, like, his show is entertaining.
It is entertaining.
And I will say they catch some really cool stuff. So, like, me saying I don't appreciate his talent isn't maybe as accurate as I would like.
You were
I was fiery in the moment. He's very dramatic. He's not the nicest person, like, to his staff, if we're being honest. Like, I don't like him as a, like, I don't know.
I will say, in this episode, he was pretty chill.
Mm.
Like, in earlier episodes, he was very much like, Aaron, go do the worst job possible in this crazy fucking haunted house.
Yes, and that's what bothers me.
He wasn't like that in this one.
And he really, like, yes, I feel like he always does that, though. Like, he's always like, you guys should go do this while I just sit back here and watch. And then, I mean, I know, like, he's done some crazy shit. Like, he does a lot of things, and a lot of his research is quote-unquote valid. But I just...
You can't like everybody. That's okay.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him.
I don't have quite as intense opinions about him. I'm kind of like neither here nor there on him. Again, his show is entertaining. I do think he has kind of a knack for getting kind of interesting evidence.
But he's mean. He's mean to the ghosts.
Well, yeah.
Like, he taunts the ghosts. He says creepy things to some of the people. Like, there's been episodes where he just, like, says weird-ass shit to, like, the tour guides or the medium or whatever, and I'm just like, gross.
Yeah. He wasn't like that in this one.
Good.
I will say he was almost borderline compassionate. Because, like when they went and toured the gas chamber, he was pretty much like, I have no doubt that the people that were killed here did horrible things, but it doesn't change the fact that they came here to die.
Mm-hmm.
So he had kind of like a more compassionate vibe.
Okay.
This wasn't one of the earlier episodes, as far as I can tell. This was when he starts having to wear glasses and stuff like that, which is, I don't know exactly how long he's had to do that, but in my mind, it tells me it's somewhat of a more recent episode. So I don't know if maybe he's just kind of like toned down the taunting and has kind of like learned that people don't necessarily like that or enjoy that. But he didn't really do that in this episode.
Okay.
So I didn't have any qualms with him. He went out and did things by himself. He made Nick do things by himself. He made Aaron do things by himself. So they kind of did, he did everything that everybody else was doing. So, I didn't, this episode was pretty chill in terms of like your stereotypical Ghost Adventures
Zach
episode.
being a diva.
Yes, I wouldn't necessarily say he's being a diva in this episode. I have seen him be a diva before, but I wouldn't say he was acting diva-ish in this particular episode. So, yeah, anyway, so if you want something where he's toned down, this would be a good episode for you to watch. But anyway, he did catch an EVP that said, "I can't breathe."
Oh, no.
Right around the time when he was getting those like really weird stomach pains.
Oh, God. I mean, people were hung there and the gas. Oh, God.
Yeah, it was really sad. And if somebody had been stabbed, like it could, it could make it hard to breathe, for sure, I would say. And then on his way out of the dungeon, he actually hears kind of a weird, like loud, squeaky bang. So again, like it's all, things that we've already talked about. People hear weird noises. They hear, bangs and doors slamming and shit like that. It wasn't anything like crazy out there. Aaron ends up hearing a really loud bang in the gas chamber. So the gas chamber, the way it was built, the chamber itself was round and it has a door on it, and then it has windows kind of around the backside, and for basically a gallery for if people wanted to come and watch somebody be gassed to death, which is like a whole other thing that we don't need to get into. But well, and the weird thing was, so the way that it's situated, the chair is facing the door, so the person sitting in the chair can't actually see the windows. So what they did was they basically put a rear view mirror, like, kind of above you, so that you can look in the mirror to see the people watching you.
Die?
Yes.
Oh my God, that makes it
was
so
really
much
weird.
worse. That makes me sick.
It was really weird. And that was one of the things that when Aaron sat in it, in like the first time they were on the tour doing this, that was one of the first things he noticed was like, oh, they have a mirror here so you can like see the people that came to see you.
Die.
It was, die, pretty much. It was kind of a weird thing. So, and he ended up getting, if I remember correctly, he ended up getting like kind of sick while he was in there. So he ends up going back later that night, and he uses the ghost box, which is like the staticky radio wave kind of noise. And he gets an EVP that says sorry.
Okay.
And then he actually hears loud banging on the windows that were in there. It was really weird. It was just like one loud bang, but it was one of those things where like he heard it in real time and you hear it in real time. So it happens and he turns around to like look at which window it was, and there was nobody there. So it was kind of crazy.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was a little bit nuts. Oh, I almost forgot. So just to like add another thing to the haunting shit list for this crazy place. So the gas chamber has a parking lot right next to it. It's really small. It's a really small parking lot, but it has a parking lot nonetheless. And underneath the parking lot is an unmarked burial site.
Oh, no.
Where hundreds of bodies are buried from a quote-unquote disease outbreak in the prison. And they basically just like buried them all in a mass grave, paved it over, put up a parking lot. No pun intended.
Oh,
that was in bad taste.
Paved
Sorry.
Paradise. The parking lot. Oh my God.
Yeah, but they are not in paradise, unfortunately. They are under a parking lot. So yeah, it was, and even Zach was like disgusted by that. He was like, these people are in a potter's grave, buried disrespectfully. I was kind of surprised that he like got kind of emotional about it.
They literally just like dumped them and then covered them up with concrete so people could park on top of them.
Yeah.
At least move them? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Well, because prisons are supposed to have like a graveyard. I mean, like they perform capital punishment here. So it's like they have to have an actual graveyard somewhere.
Right. And just
So
people who
I don't know
die,
why.
natural causes or whatever.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
Ugh.
anyway, so today the Gothic style Missouri State Penitentiary ranks one of the most incredible haunted prisons in the country.
Ooh.
Yep, several major ghost hunting groups have conducted investigations in the prison, including Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. And they regularly get recordings of ghostly voices and shadow people on camera.
Oof.
And to cap
get
all
shadow
off,
people
reservation
to get like actual video recordings of some of this stuff is just like mind blowing to me.
I know, like even the window, like it doesn't sound like much, but the fact that she got this window like moving on its own is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bit nuts. All right, so to cap off this story, reservations are required for all tours. The end.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no, I should note we're in the middle of like COVID-19 time, so they're probably not doing tours right now. But if you're curious, I'm sure you could find out. But that is the story of Missouri State Penitentiary.
Wow.
That was a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it. It was mostly a history lesson.
It was,
but the history was fucking crazy.
and the dark history is part of what we do.
Yes, I agree. And you got a little ghost story at the end of it too. And well, it's funny because I wasn't gonna watch the Ghost Adventures episode because it was one that I had to pay for, and I got to be honest, I don't want to really pay for Ghost Adventures.
He's not worth it.
But no, he's really not. But I wanted to because I wanted more ghost stuff, and I knew they would have it.
Yeah,
so
and it was actually good.
Like
it. The stuff that
they got
was actually really good.
Yes, yeah, for sure. So yeah, anyway, that's my story. But yeah.
Dang. Well, that was good. That was a good one.
I had fun doing it. I was kind of led astray with that first prison, and I kind of wasted a lot of time with it. But this was the second one that I looked at, and I was like, nope, I'm committing to this. Like, done deal. Here we go. And there was just like this one article had, oh my God, so much information. I didn't even need to look anywhere else. Like, it was long enough. I didn't need to look anywhere else. So
isn't that so nice?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, and like the riot history was nuts. Like, it just, I don't know, it kind of had everything. So I really just went for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it. I think that's pretty much it for this week. Check out our social media. Email us, please, if you'd like. If we get enough email submissions, we might be able to do like a listeners episode or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. And then let's see. Are you ready for your topic for next week?
I sure am.
Okay. So I think this could either be really hard or really fun. I'm not sure which one it is. But I would like to hear a story about an urban legend.
You're going to laugh. So freaky twin moment.
Okay.
I literally... Earlier, I was watching Unexplained with the great William Shatner.
The magnificent.
And they were talking about an urban legend, and I was like, oh man, we should do an urban legend. And I was actually going to tell you that was your topic this next time. So it's hilarious that, like, we twinned it up and, like, twin telepathied, I guess, for a moment, because here we are.
Well, now you get to do it now.
Which is really fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be kind of like, it'll be a little bit different from the other things, I guess, that we've talked about. But I mean, we've talked about aliens, we've talked about cryptids. I guess like the Jersey Devil could be considered an urban legend, depending on who you talk to.
And the Bell Witch, I guess.
I think, yeah, that's true. The Bell Witch, I guess, could also be an urban legend. Also, yeah, I guess.
But it's fun to like intentionally look for an urban legend.
Yes, I think so. And so one of the first podcasts that I ever listened to was Lore. And if anybody like hasn't listened to Lore, you probably live under a rock,
I
first of all.
haven't.
Second, okay, well, if have you heard
Yes.
of it? Okay, you've heard of it. Okay, that's a whole nother thing. If you've heard of it, good job. If you haven't, you live under a rock. I'm sorry. Go check out Lore. But they're pretty quick episodes, but it's all urban legends and weird stuff. I mean, not all of them. Like he did one on H.H. Holmes, he did one on Typhoid Mary, but it started out with just like legends. So he does one about like Irish fairies.
Oh.
Or is it Scottish fairies? I can't remember. It's one of those, but yeah, it was very interesting. So if you're into like the urban legend thing, Lore is fascinating and super good. But go listen to Lore after you listen to us.
Yes, us first.
Us first, especially next week, because Paige is going to tell you a really good story about an urban legend.
Yes.
All right. Do we have anything else to
I
say?
don't think so.
All right. We will see you and hear you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
And thank you again for joining Tales with Twins.